Hey, it's a Scotch video because Scotch can sometimes be a different spirit too. So, a long running obsession of mine has been trying to figure out the best value driven malts out there. So I started out looking at ones around 40 bucks. There's not a whole lot out there. There's like Glen Garioch 10, Tomatin, if you're into that. You can maybe Glenmorangie, but not a whole lot there. More recently, I've started to look at stuff you can get for under 50 bucks or so. That gets more interesting. So what? That's kind of the question I'm operating with. What is the best malt or best value-driven malt you can buy at the $50 price point ish? A couple of good contenders. Glen Cadam 10, I just reviewed it. Mortlock 12 is out there, very good. Ardbeg Wee Beastie. You used to be able to get the 10 for under 50 bucks. Not the case anymore, but you can still find the Wee Beastie. Little floral, at least in my last bottle, but good little peaty option. Bunnahabhain 10, if you can get it on sale, is right there. Its retail around here is technically 55, so it's technically disqualified, but we will come back to that whole technical disqualification thing in a minute because we are going to be trying some of those. So at the moment, my big winner in the sub $50 Scotch malt category is this. Bunnahabhain 12-year-old. There is a combination of like sherry and vegetable bouillon thing going on in this, which is really, really good. And for the price point, really, really hard to beat. This is very good stuff. I gave it an 86 out of 100, I think last year sometime. So this is the one to beat from the Burn Stewart portfolio, which has been bought by, oh God, I don't even know, bought by someone a couple of years ago. But still them. But there's one big contender in that space, also from the Burn Stewart portfolio, I haven't tried recently, and that's the Deanston 12-year-old. I have had it a couple of years ago, but not recently, so I'm going to revisit it. And there's also some stuff I'd like to try, which, how do I put this? It should be in this in this sub $50 value malt category. It really should be. But it isn't right now. If you go to sort of European online retailers, some of whom might be willing to ship to you, incidentally. If you go to the European online retailers, you can generally find stuff like this for well under 40 euros. But for some reason, when it gets to the States, it's too expensive, or because importers, I guess, or it just doesn't show up at all. So, two examples of that kind. I've got Arran 10-year-old, which is around 60 bucks in Chicago at least. Well under 40 euros across. Not even the UK. We're talking like Germany gets it for under 40 euros. And here's a little bit of a dark horse. Glen Garioch 12-year-old. Also around under 40 euros. So really should be in this category, but it's technically disqualified. But I want to try it anyways, just to see. So that's the lineup. I'm going to pour these, and we'll talk about each of them in turn. Deanston has really, really become prominent lately. Ralphie's been pushing this stuff like crazy. It is a Southern Highlander, so kind of a neighbor to Glengoyne, Aberfeldy, Glenturret, a couple of others like that. And they make a lot of sort of cask finished stuff, which I am not a huge fan of. Particularly the Virgin Oak, I don't really like it at all. But the 12 is all bourbon casks, so much more up my, I don't know, wheelhouse, so to speak. Arran 10-year-old also been getting a lot of notice recently, from especially from Ralphie. From the Isle of Arran, close to the lowlands, just kind of off the coast, or not too far off the coast, anyways. The only distillery on the on the titular Isle of Arran. Oh, newish distillery. I used to be able to call them one of the newest distilleries in Scotland. That is really no longer the case now. But opened in '95 or '96, and for a while they were just kind of a bad joke. Their young malts came out in the early 2000s, and they were really not good. The baby vomit tasting note was invented just for young Arran. But once they started getting to 10, 14, 16, 18 years old, people really, really started to appreciate what Arran was doing down there. So now they're really, people are really kind of bullish on Arran. And then there's this stuff, Glen Garioch in the Eastern Highlands. So, not too far from Glen Cadam, actually, or Old Fettercairn. There's not a lot of distilleries still over there. Glen Garioch is one of my favorite malt distilleries out there. More sentimentally, I guess, now than objectively, but it was the Glen Garioch 8, the old 8-year-old, was the first malt I ever bought. A little while later, I bought the 15. And back then, the stocks were still from the kind of turn of the 90s, when they were still lightly peated. So you got this, it has this really, really, really complex sort of floral, herbaceous profile to it. We'll get into that in a little bit. But that was really what made me start to appreciate malts that were more ensemble pieces, that were not just peat or sherry or, one big thing going on. And that was the start of the show. Lots of stuff going on in Glen Garioch, and I've always appreciated that. Now, it is part of the Beam Suntory portfolio. And originally, the Suntory portion, which is a little bit worrying if you look at, say, where Bowmore has been and where Auchentoshan has been, which is to say, not very promising. On the whole, I found Beam Suntory leadership to want to make the wrong choice any time they possibly could. But then there's the way they've been treating Glen Garioch recently. This 12-year-old is bottled at 48%. I mean, these two guys are 46. This is 46.3, I think. This is 48. And it is unchill-filtered. And not only the presentation of this particular bottling, the distillery has just gone through, like I'm talking about a couple of months ago, a huge upgrade. They've switched the stills back to direct firing. Not away from direct firing. I'm talking they switched it back to direct firing. They restarted the old maltings there. They have a maltings floor again. So for some reason, while they let, Auchentoshan and Bowmore's, two of the most distinctive distilleries in Scotland, rot, they're putting a lot of money into Glen Garioch. And also giving it like really good presentation. So I don't know what the deal is. Is someone over there like just pulling this behind Suntory's back, and they just don't know what's going on yet? Anyways, so we will give this a shot. I don't think this has not gotten anywhere near the attention that these two have, but seems like it's worth a try. Charismatic old Eastern Highlander. All right. But enough of my yapping. Let's try these out, see how they are. First off is the Deanston 12-year-old Highland single malt Scotch whiskey. This is unchill-filtered, aged in ex-bourbon casks for 12 years. Anything else about this? 46.3% alcohol. It does not say natural color on it. But that's really, if you do you really want to complain about that? Do you? For something under $50, I'm okay with this. The color looks fine. All right, let's get our nose into this. Batches. I couldn't find a batch number on this, but bottled circa 2021 or so. Ooh. So if you're used to big noses basically being tantamount to sherried noses or peated noses, this may baffle you a little bit because it's a big nose, actually. But it's a big, hefty, complex, malty profile. And it's really sort of the malt that's the star of the show here. But God, there's a lot of stuff going on. Some red apple, some Bosc pear, some traditional, malty malt sorts of notes. But then lots of orange peel, lots of orange stuff going on. Marmalade too, along with the orange peel. Like a chocolate orange, the things you used to slap on the table when you were a kid to kind of break them open. And then there's like a cloud of rock dust going on in this. Very minerally, which is something actually common to the Southern Highlanders. You get that a lot also in Glen Garioch. Some those are the big notes, but then beyond that, there's also some like dried heather, hints of that. Some honey, but it's really more forest honey. This is sour, heavier honey. There's a little Hong Kong style milk tea in this. Some, just classic chocolate malted milk balls. Actually, there's some, the dipping sauce for like spring rolls at Thai restaurants? There's actually some of that going on. And then like just kind of like some straight up applesauce going on, but applesauce while you're having a nice cup of not a cup, like an unstewed bag of Earl Grey tea hanging out nearby. I mean, there's a lot. The core of this again is the malt. It's a little bit like Glen Garioch in that way, but there's more going on in this than Glen Garioch 10. It's just flying. The orangey notes in particular are just adding so much interest to this. Really impressive, really complex, delightful, in a word. And big. No peat, no sherry, but it's a big malt on the palate of this. Yeah, remember what I was talking about with the sort of my attraction to sort of malts that are ensemble pieces where there's lots of different things going on playing off each other with the Glen Garioch. Here it's kind of happening with the Deanston, actually. So there's a balance going on here between a kind of dessert apple Bosc pear thing on the one end. Then there's a lot of campfire smoke and pepper going on the palate. There's some citrus. There's different kinds of citrus, again, orange. And then, like, just rocks. I feel like I'm drinking rocks and enjoying it. The grassy, heathery thing, and actually even more of an herbal thing, like menthol, basil, are in there, and they're kind of tied in with the campfirey, peppery thing. As a kind of accompaniment, some color to that note. Lots of orange peel in this. Maybe like toasted orange peel. Some marmalade again, lemon peel. Rocks, yes. But then there's a little bit more of a desserty side to this. This is very dry. This is not, a desserty malt by any means, despite the fact that it's driven by, the bourbon casks. But kind of giving this a little bit of extra charm, there's some vanilla in this. There's some toffee. There's some Earl Grey, maybe with some mixed honeys you've added to your Earl Grey. Some used coffee grinds. Lots of, again, that sort of ashy, black peppery thing on the finish. It is a long finish, but I do notice, and this sometimes happens with younger malts, before I've added water, the finish stops a little short in my mouth. It stops basically right at the end of my molars, so it's not pushing all the way back. Not the worst thing in the world. This is real good stuff. Well done, Deanston. This is what this is what happens when you take a really just competent malt, you throw it in some bourbon casks. Good, good bourbon casks, and you present it well. That's all that's kind of going on here. There's no magic to it. There's no, they're not, finishing it in Madeira or anything like that. It's as simple as can be, but God, it works. Terrific. All right, moving on to the Arran. Oh, wait, I'm going to give that a squirt of water, and we'll come back to it. We're going to see how all of these react with water. All right, Arran, 10-year-old. The Arran is a little bit in the death seat now after that, the Deanston. All right, what can I say about this? This one is natural color, along with non-chill filtered. 46%. There is a lot number on this, however, which is... Where did I even remember? Oh, yeah. I'll just read it off my notes because it's really hard to read in the bottle. L180621. So presumably bottled August of 2021. All right. Let's see what we got in this. Much more subtle on the nose than the Deanston. The Deanston just kind of blows your face off out of the glass. There is a cider vinegar thing going on, which I'm picking up first, but there also like cakes, different kinds of cakes, pound cake especially, but also coffee cake, where you've used like a lot of sour cream to make your coffee cake. There's kind of that coming through. Applesauce also coming through alongside the cider vinegar thing. Pears. White pepper. Yeah, this is way more restrained on the nose. Got just some grainy notes, like I want to say cream of wheat, but it's not. It's more like graham crackers. Yeah, let's go with graham crackers. Ooh. And there's a kind of chocolate-covered cherry note in this, which makes me think of sherry casks, but I don't. It's not screaming sherry cask at me. They don't tell you what kind of casks they use in this, which makes me think maybe there's a fair amount of like rebuilt stuff or recharged stuff going on. So who knows? There may be some sherry elements in here, maybe some other stuff, but I don't know. In any case, there's a chocolate-covered cherry thing going on. A little bit of chocolate and dried fruit. Then you're getting a little fresh lemon lime spritz, like some sour mix. Lots of coffee, some high-end cafe latte, maybe with an extra shot in it. It's quite subtle. It's hard to pick stuff out. Some nuttiness, some like fresh almonds, some fresh hazelnuts. Ooh, and something orangey, but it's not orange. It's more like a Mirabelle plum. You know what? Well, let's refill that. Almost 200 videos now. Had to happen at some point. No, I'm gonna need more than that. Okay. So into the washing machine this goes. Okay, now everything's gonna smell like Arran. I can smell it now. That's the plus side to the spill I just had. Now I can smell the Arran. Okay. Yeah, there's a peach in here as well, like one peach element, a little bit of stone fruit. Sorry, let me get back in the zone. Nuttiness, that Mirabelle plum thing, the orangey plum. And a little bit of a tea element, not Earl Grey. It's more like Darjeeling, like Darjeeling leaves more so than stewed tea. Can you actually see the stain down there? Yeah, there you go. For science. Okay, on the palate with this freshly poured glass of Arran 10-year-old. Whoa! To my surprise and shock, this actually turns into a little bit of a pepper bomb. Lots of black pepper, lots of kind of ashy stuff, campfire ash, but also a little bit of like nice cigarette ash. Some mixed apples and pears. Fresh coffee grinds, but also used coffee grinds. Some grass, like freshly mowed grass. Pound cake again, but it's like a pound cake you've taken your pepper grinder and you've kind of put some black pepper all over it. Some burned nutshells this time. Not even the nuts. We're talking nutshells. Cinnamon. Mirabelle plum again. And what is that? We're back at the chocolate covered cherry thing, but it's mingling with like a coffee note. So it's really like you dissolved your chocolate covered cherries in a really nice cafe latte. That's kind of what's going on. Like the Deanston 12, the finish on this is it's longish. It's not as long. It holds a lot. It holds on pepper for a very long time. But again, it doesn't go too far back in my mouth. It stops basically right on my back molars. That will probably improve when I add water to it. Yeah, I have to think. The profile isn't telling me sherry cask, but it also isn't telling me bourbon cask or even a mix. It's more. I have to think maybe there's some rebuilt casks or something in here. It's interesting. All right, I'm going to give this a squirt of water. We'll come back to it. First spill. Well, I mean, not the first spill, but I think the first spill of that magnitude on the Different Spirits channel. We should have some kind of celebration for that. Well done, Arran 10-year-old. All right, last up, Glen Garioch 12. All right, so at this point, the Deanston is kind of running away with it. I like the Arran 12. I don't think it can step to this stuff. This is just kind of working at a different level. So the Glen Garioch has a little bit of a problem on its hands. This is, what can I say about this? Also has a lot number. This is L92625B2. I don't know. It's probably from 2021, like the others. 12-year-old Highland single malt Scotch whiskey. Much more busy label than the Arran, obviously. This is very kind of functional minimalist. Non-chill filtered. Again, no mention of natural color, but we deal with it. 48% alcohol by volume, so a little bit stronger than the other two. And importantly, they're reporting there's some sherry casks in here, so bourbon and sherry cask. And let's see what we got. On the nose. Ooh. Okay, goodness. So first of all, oh god, I love this style. I love this malt. Hugely floral. Let's start with that. This is a flower shop exploding right in front of you, and you're a little shocked, but it's also kind of awesome. I'm kind of disentangling this. Give me a second. Wildflower honey along with the floral notes. Actually, some acacia honey too. Some blossom honey, orange blossom honey. Oh, okay. And now the sherry is starting to creep in. We're like old-fashioned sherry. So there's some green nuts, unroasted nuts. Some like prunes, some dried cherries. Dark chocolate. And then there's the malt in this as well. So you're getting sliced apples and pears, kind of covered in chocolate. Well, not covered, like drizzled with chocolate, dark chocolate. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. Okay, creme brulee. This actually has more of a desserty aspect than the Arran does, which is surprising me, or the Deanston for that matter. Yeah, definitely a little creme brulee thing, but also there's a yeastiness, like there's an amber lager note, so like a yeasty, malty beery thing happening. Let's go amber lager. Tree sap of all things. Maybe a cafe mocha. fresh cup of English breakfast tea, and then a note which I associate very strongly with Glen Garioch, which is fresh ginger. There's a lot of fresh ginger in this, and some white pepper as well. It's a good nose. Again, it's an ensemble cask. The barrels are not running this. The distillate is not running that. Well, the distillate actually is kind of running this, but no one element is really standing out. And I'm sorry, I'm really, really seduced by this style. This is good. And Glen Garioch with sherry is generally just always a little bit of a home run. All right, on the palate of this, here we go. Oh. One more time. One more time before I start in the tasting notes. Oh, God. Yeah, home run. Home run. It's flying out of the park. And, you know, hitting a phone pole on its way down. God damn, that's good. This is... If you're a malt nerd, if you were the kind of person who appreciated Springbank before Springbank got really, really stupid big, you will like this. Lechaig fans, Tobermory fans, come on into the room. Glencadam fans, come on into the room. This is some malt fans malt. So first of all, zillions of flowers, again, really dominated by the floral elements, but balanced off against that, you've got dark chocolate, dried fruit again. So we're talking figs, prunes, cherries. There's coffee in this as well, like stove top Bialetti coffee, maybe with a little milk in there. I love the style. Orange zest, and the 48% is just giving it such a weight. Orange zest. Again, that kind of chocolate orange that you hit on the table kind of thing. Nuts, but it's a mix of roasted nuts, but also like unroasted nuts, the green nuts again. So that's the sherry creeping in. White pepper again. It's not anywhere near as peppery as the Arran though. Rocks again, but not nearly as kind of rocky as the Deanston. It's just a color note in there. Oh, and it still has that kind of yeasty beery note, the amber lager thing. The burned apples, fresh apples, but also some apples you've like set on fire. Also some pears, and some pears you've set on fire. Green tea leaves, a little touch of mustard seed in there, which reminds me of Tobermory, and some ginger again. And a little bit of grassiness, a little touch of grass in there, mingled with a slight herbaceousness. Maybe you're gonna throw a couple of basil sprigs in there. This is a really good profile. I mean, it's a wonder. Again, like the Deanston, it's a good malt. Maybe like more of a thoroughbred than Deanston. That's really what's making the difference here. More of a thoroughbred than Deanston is. Well presented. It's just hard to beat this profile, man. Again, I hesitate to say this because of where the prices have gone recently, but if you were a Deanston fan, you might want to look into this. I'm sorry, Springbank fans might want to look into this. Don't tell anyone else that I said this, but... All right, I'm going to add some water. Man, that's good. And again, in Europe, if you have 40 euros, you can buy this. Or if you have, some interest in buying from, European retailers, you can buy this. Just saying. Let's see if that's enough. You know, I really thought the Deanston was going to run away with this, and now the Glen Garioch is really putting up a fight. By the way, I know it looks like Glen Garioch. That's because Gaelic hates you. It's actually pronounced Glen Garioch. Okay. Let's go back through these. And again, this is before we get direct firing back, and I'm sure they'll come out with some peated versions once they get the maltings going. Glen Garioch is one to watch. Keep your eye on this stuff. All right, back to the Deanston 12. Now with water. Well, that's fun. This was good before, but now like the water has kicked out some high-toned aromatics, which I appreciate. There's some. It's not exactly floral notes. It's more like citrus peel, like lemon peel, lemon pith actually is in there too. Sour apple, some saffron of all things showing up. And it's really hugely minerally now. Like that kind of rocks and rock dust note is kind of being very prominent. Yeah, Deanston. Deanston this is a really good spirit. And again, they're just presenting it well. They're just showing what they got, and that's to be applauded. All right, on the palate with this Deanston 12, now with water. Water. Ooh. Now the pepper starts to come out on this. Yeah, water extends the mouthfeel, or extends, improves the mouthfeel, and makes it more peppery as well, and extends the finish. Now it's kind of covering my whole mouth. Gets a little bit more herbaceous and more kind of savory. I mean, it was already pretty savory, but now it gets more savory with water. Tons of orange in this. I love the orangey notes and that kind of grassy, citrusy thing, which reminds me a little bit of Lowlands, even though this is not a Lowlands whiskey. I mean, yeah. I mean, if you appreciate this kind of malt-driven, but also, you know, herbaceous and kind of citrusy style of malt, this is spectacular. In fact, I think this is better than the Bunnahabhain 12 that there's my current leaderboard leader. I'm gonna give this a higher score than the Bunnahabhain. I'm gonna give this an 86 plus. This is very good. 86 plus for Deanston 12. And it's highly recommended. But we got the Glen Garioch coming up, so let's hold on crowning a new leader until the dust settles. All right, I guess we can, right? Because this technically isn't below $50 because I don't think you can buy this in the U.S. right now. And I so mistrust Beam Suntory that I'm pretty sure if they bring it over, they're gonna mess it up. They're gonna charge like $90 for it, and no one's gonna buy it because that's how they roll. All right, back to the Arran 10-year-old now with water. It's still a very subdued nose compared to the other two. So I'm getting, it smells more creamy. There's a creaminess coming out now. And aside from that, like more of a kind of a, what is that? Like a lemon cake, maybe an apple cake kind of thing. Maybe like an apple cake you put some lemon sauce on. It's still a nice nose. It's very well made, but to be honest, I don't think it can step with these other two. I don't think it's quite there. All right, on the palate with this Arran 10. No, it is really good though. I mean, put it this way. What else is there around $50 that can? I mean, the Glenfiddich 12 is pushing, you know, into around 45 at this point, right? I mean, this is $5 more than that, and it actually absolutely runs circles around it. So just to keep that in context, when I give this a lower score, it's not real. I mean, this is smoking. Again, water extends the finish, kind of makes it more creamy, not more peppery though, because it's already pretty peppery to begin with. Yeah, there's a cakey aspect to Arran, which really makes it kind of delicious and fun. So it's not kind of turned into this peppery apple strudel thing, which I really like. Good malt. Good malt. I like this a lot. I really wish it wasn't in the US for $60. I don't... Is it worth that? Absolutely. Can you do better for that price? Deanston? Yes, absolutely. So I'm going to give this 85 out of 100. Nice malt, just not kind of, you know, up there with the competition sitting next to it. And finally, let's go back to the Glen Garioch 12. This did have a little bit of an advantage on the others in that it was 48. Now that we've added some water, it should be more of an even playing field. All right, let's see how this behaves. With water, kind of not a whole lot of development on this, but it just kind of smells the same. It's very floral with the sort of chocolatey sherry notes and some malty notes. And it's perfect. No real development, but I don't care. It's just perfect. All right, on the palate. Third verse, same as the first in terms of what it does with water. The water extends the finish and makes it kind of more creamy and peppery. Actually, the finish, the sherry comes out more on the finish too. There's that kind of nuttiness along with the dried fruit thing. But also the flowers are here to play. Oh, goddamn, though. This is a really good bottle of whiskey. This is a damn good bottle of whiskey. It's silky, it's sherried, it's malty, it's balanced, it's sessionable. And it's not expensive, at least at your European retailers who may have some interest in selling to you. It is reasonably priced. I gotta go there. As much as I love the Deanston, the Deanston is very, very good. I think like the Glen Garioch is better. I'm gonna give this 88 points, the highest score I've gone with at a whiskey in this price range in a long time. 88 points for the Glen Garioch 12. And God, I hope Beam brings it over without screwing it up. It's just, people need to try this. Like, this is old school, classic whiskey. It's weird, but it's so balanced and kind of delicate and fingertippy, and I just love it. Okay, so what do we got here? Deanston 12, 86 plus. Arran 10, 85, which is it's just coming in, you know, being the third winner. It is not losing in this kind of context. And Glen Garioch 12, 88 points. So it's really a little bit, it reminds me of, there's a freestyle from the mid 90s with like a ton of rappers on it. And it's got like Biggie and Tupac at the same time on it. And so Biggie goes first, crushes it, and it's a great verse, and then Tupac goes on, and I love Tupac. I love the way, you know, he was able to kind of take what Cube was doing with the West Coast and kind of turn it his own way with more of a protest angle and then more of a personal angle. Tupac's great great lyricist, but man, like as far as just a rapper, in terms of sheer delivery, like Biggie's gonna take it. And so you know, Tupac finishes his verse, and you think, okay, like it's good showing, but it's all over at this point. And then Big Daddy Kane shows up for the last verse of the freestyle, and just slays it, absolutely slays it. And you're like, what? Who is this? Big Daddy who? And this is kind of reminding me of that. We all kind of forgot about Glen Garioch. Since like the 70s, I imagine we forgot about Glen Garioch. But man, what a spirit. And it's only going to get better from here. So that's all I got. Thanks for watching, and cheers.